today on my program at the YouTube and in the Zoom room, we're welcoming the author, one of the best psychic mediums in all of Canada, who I've had the pleasure of knowing and working with through email and through personal contact through my old radio show, the Peaceful Planet, James Murray, who is available at thestarsstillshine.com. And I don't know if you can type that into the chat.
Yes, yeah,
But,
do that, and I'll just say I'm happy to be here today, and
we're really glad to have you, and thank you for those private messages from John Lennon. And so we have Esther joining us from the UK. So it's nice to have an international vibe about this audience, with James being from Canada, me, USA, and Esther. And so we have the most amazing message from Pope Francis, but I want to talk a little bit about your book and some of my events too. So I'm just going to mention, and it's only in passing because it's posted in the Circle of the Rose, but if you're not a member, on Facebook, there's a private group called Circle of the Rose, and I host it, and I post a lot of historical and otherwise mystical information about Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, Divine Feminine, and of course, Diana, who I primarily channel. And today's interview with James will be highlighted. And I'm really honored to work with James all these years. And he also channels Princess Diana, and he is also an illustrator like myself. He's an artist and illustrator. And you can see all this. Did it show up in the chat? Do we have it open?
Yeah, I put it in the, should be the website addresses in there. Just can just add the the 3 W's, and then, but that
the stars still shine.
Yeah.
So please, folks, as we're joining, click on that website where you can go and purchase a copy of James's and Bob Murray. Robert Murray is James's dad, who also works with us in spirit. And he also communicates with those in spirit that are very famous, and he always has. He's an excellent medium, along with his son. He trained his son, James. And the Stars Still Shine book, it's called The Stars Still Shine, an Afterlife Journey. Is that the name of the book, James?
Oh, that's right. Yep, that's the title. Yes.
And that you have 2 volumes, don't you? 1 or 2 or 3?
Yeah, there's second one that we published in 2000, and it's been quite a number of years. 2009. That was the Stars Still Shine. It's the Michael's Afterlife Journey Continues. You have to find it on it's on the website, and that book is also.
Oh, I have that one too. So if you haven't got a chance to read what it's really like in heaven, James and Bob Murray really nail it. It's almost identical to here. And it's so comforting to read these wonderful, charming stories of the town. And they have a little opera house, don't they? Where the Half Beats play, John and George.
Yeah, there's in the one, I guess one of the towns where like maybe my father he's visited that now, and also Michael, who's the my brother-in-law who had passed away. This is the subject of the books, the Stars Still Shine books, and he's Michael has spent quite a bit of time at this opera house, and he's done some performances that we've mentioned in more recent messages that my father wrote, and I think I'd mentioned that in a few more of the more recent messages that I've written. And so that's really the basis behind the opera house. It's in the in a town where there's many other entertainers, and so it's like-minded people. Yeah,
for the who's who of the world.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
and that's how I got connected to John Lennon, because I was matting a painting of Diana, and it was early on in my work, and he came to me and said, "Oh, don't worry, love, you'll get your work out." And I recognized John Lennon's voice in the channel, and I was like so amazed. But I've since written a book with John too called Notes from John, Messages from Across the Universe. And I've had some public readings of it more recently here in Springfield, Illinois. But I can't really produce it or do much with it because of the Beatles fame and all that. And I just can't risk anything like that. But John's glad that we collaborated and he would like more collaboration. But before I go into all my Diana and John stuff, which I know everyone wants to hear more about what they're doing, another famous person came to you recently, and that was Pope Francis right after he passed, didn't he?
Yeah, well, through I guess everybody recalls that actually through John Kennedy Jr., who's I think when he was alive, he had his magazine as a George, and he was always interested in writing and publishing. And when he had passed away, and I guess it was just shortly after his passing, and he came through. My father brought him through, and he had the opportunity to write some articles for our magazine that we published a number of years ago. And so we've been keeping in touch with John Kennedy Jr.
He's the editor-in-chief as well as Carolyn Bessette Kennedy. Aren't
Yeah,
they
they've been
both
both,
the editors?
two of them have been contributing and helping with our publication that we had. I mean, we haven't been publishing anything recently, but this last few messages have come through from John that he's some short conversations, interesting ones, short conversations with the Pope Francis, or I guess the Pope would say that I was the Pope, but we still like to call him the Pope because that gives him an identification. But
yeah, I can't remember what his actual name was, but he's themed as a gentle person and a good person. Trying to run that organization would be more than a challenge with all that stuff going on, So without further ado, if you're ready and you'd like to bring us the first or the second message, whichever you want to start with, the first one would be good.
Yeah, sure.
We'll
Because
right in.
yeah, I could. You want me to read the whole thing, or just summarize, or
Oh, no, I would appreciate it if you would read the
read
entire
the whole
thing.
thing? Okay,
It's very,
okay,
very good.
okay. So this is a message that I channeled back on April 23rd of this year from John Kennedy Jr. And I'll read it verbatim. He says, "It is I, John Kennedy Jr., of many hats. I still wear the hat of a magazine publisher, as I was one some time ago on Earth, and I wrote many articles here of my discussions with fellow honorable persons who once lived on the planet. Let me cut to the chase and say that I never did meet the most recent pontiff, or Pope Francis, when on Earth, but I still followed every new one during my lifetime, and continue to keep an eye on the current ones, namely Pope Francis. So it is not uncharacteristic of me to do an investigation and interview. I have always had a strong connection to the Vatican. Perhaps I had a close association in a past incarnation or lifetime, as I have been told. I, like others, paid him a visit today. He is presently staying in a commune with others who once were in the Vatican. He was not in a hospital or infirmary upon his arrival, as I had first believed. When I did meet him, he was resting in a comfortable chair. He can walk again, he said. Naturally, we still tend to prepare. Naturally, we still tend to prepare our meeting with the Pope in the same manner as we do on Earth. I patiently waited for the best opportunity to meet him, and surprisingly enough, my name caught the attention of one of his assistants or helpers. Pope Francis is a very humble man, extremely kind, genuine, and wasted no time welcoming all who came to see him. He has the most amazing energy for someone who has had health issues of late, but he knows he's no longer the Pope, and in heaven, he's no longer the Pope, and in heaven, but he wants to continue to be of service to anyone who needs help and guidance on both sides of the river. Now, apparently, he told me he immediately spoke with Jesus upon his arrival. He said he always wanted to meet Jesus upon his transition. He told me it was not to put himself on a pedestal above anyone, but he always felt he was and still is serving along with Jesus, and said he always felt he shared a previous life on earth with the Son of God. My conversation was brief, but he gave me a big hug, kissed on my forehead, smiled, and thanked me for visiting him. He is not sad for himself, but it said only for the people he left behind who wanted to see him one last time. He wants his followers and all peoples of the world to come together, share their love and not war, but most importantly, to be kind to one another and give what you can to help others in need. He added that the giving doesn't have to be material, but you. Simple statements, but clear. Amazingly, his words translated clearly from his mother tongue. He spoke a bit of English when on Earth, I was told. I left feeling very blessed and promised to visit again. He welcomed that sentiment and wished me blessings before I left. And that's the first message.
Wow. So that's really an interesting message, because he was a very humble person from what I've read. And I'm not involved in Catholic at all, but I think it really tells us a lot about his personality. The fact that he arrived well on the other side says a lot too, because only advanced souls usually arrive in pretty good condition and not, needing a lot of rehabilitation after they transition. So, he was anticipating this, but the fact that he's already in service and conducting interviews so soon after his passing is quite remarkable. And then, I'm, interfaith. I accept all faiths and all religions as valid, including, the earth religions and all of that. So, it's great that, we can look to this person for a source of wisdom without the sense of worshiping, like a lot of the Catholics would worship and that kind of thing, which I can't get into that. And so, I channel a lot of famous people too. And there is an aura of worship on Princess Diana, John Lennon, the Queen, who I've channeled quite a few times now. And it's a great honor. And she has quite a bit of knowledge to share with the world too. But, once they transition, they become equal with everyone, but they still the masters carry a lot of wisdom. Even John Lennon, who doesn't want to be referred to as a master, he always says, they'd put me up on a bloody altar and worship me. Well, that's what people tend to do, like even with Jesus, he was a master. So, but people worship him as a god now. But I think in the original truest sense, he wanted to just be a humble messenger of God and a teacher, but he was one of the greatest world teachers for sure, and incorporated his journeys to India in, and I tell about that in my book, Mary Magdalene Speaks, but that was really a remarkable message, and you conveyed the personality of, John Jr. so well too. And I know John Jr. has written me quite a few times. And, you know, once I was discouraged about getting my books published with Diana, the second book. And he said, well, if I had known you in life, you would be right on the cover of George magazine. He was teasing me. So the fact that we're both connected to all these famous people, and yet we're really humble, just messengers, that's all we are. But these powerful people have powerful messages because they reach the masses. And so that's why we're connected together, James and I, and everybody that feels a connection to our work. But I do recommend to the audience that they buy your book, The Stars Still Shine, Volume 1, and then Volume 2, it's called The Continued Michael's Afterlife.
Michael's Afterlife Journey Continues, yeah.
Okay, Michael's Afterlife Journey Continues. And then if you go on to the website, The Stars Still Shine, you can also hear some of the extraordinary music that's being created by greats like John Lennon and George Harrison, known as the Half-Beats. And I've had the honor of hearing their music from Bob and James. And I can't carry tune, but I've written some lyrics with them. And then James has written quite a few lyrics and continues their work. And as you explain it, you said that George tells you what buttons to hit in the on the computer device.
I guess even they probably don't know. I guess we have it on the computer software audio music program, and it just somehow it comes through with a melody, and I don't know, it's probably a little bit of help from the computer, a little bit of help from them. It's a mixture or a combination of the two.
Well, the music from John is simply witty and whimsical, just like John, and the lyrics as well. I'm thinking of Peaceful Planet and Radical Dolphin, but we'll play those in the intermission. When I post this, I'll have my web designer insert those, but those are on James's website. You can listen to the music for free. He also channels Louis Armstrong and some of these other greats on the other side. And don't you channel a lot of other music from them? I mean, it's been an ongoing project. And John mentions that he wants more music. So anyway, I just want to tune you on to that website and his books, because if you haven't, if you're still alive and you're, getting older and you want to know what it's like really in heaven, and minus all the religious dogma, which, Jesus really never taught about that. He just taught that the kingdom of heaven was within you. But a lot of people are working their karma off, thinking they're going to work all of it off and go to heaven. And that's going to be the final thing. But we've learned through working together, there's such a thing as reincarnation. We've tapped into many past lives with James and myself, Bob Murray, and come to find out that we've had some past lives where we might have known each other. At least we know we walked with Jesus as well. So I'm wondering who he was now. You got me curious. Who was Pope Francis? Maybe he'll reveal that in his next message. Maybe he won't, because it's controversial. A lot of Catholics will go, oh, that's not true. If they get afraid, people get afraid for the wrong reasons. But I think everyone is opening up during these times of angelic awakening and ascension to all these celestial interdimensional beings like Archangel Michael and masters and so on. So would you like to read the second message that just came through?
June the 7th. This is another message, June the 7th message from John Kennedy Jr., John F. Kennedy Jr. And it starts off, he says, I had the opportunity to speak with former Pope Francis again. It was a brief exchange as I encountered him at a public gathering. He, without a doubt, still has followers, and many are on this side, many are on this side rather in heaven. Yeah, he has had many still coming to ask him of religious blessings. Those two words don't always need each other, but he said at an earlier time that the word blessing has different meanings. He made himself very clear that he is no longer a papal figure, but still dedicates himself to others. Anyway, it was a short conversation, as I did not want to take time away from his work. It was a public market in a tiny village, much like in Vatican City. He was actually serving people meals from a counter with others and had time to say a few words. I don't know if he ever spent time doing that in life, but there he was, helping to serve meals. Here is our conversation. John, Your Holiness, I am happy to see you once again. It's Francis. Okay. As I am the same to see you again. I am very glad you came, and I want to ask you a question. And then John says, oh, yes, please. And I said, I was in awe that he wanted to ask me a question. And then Francis, with a smile, said, brown rice or white? Carrots or squash? and a heavy accent before he placed food on my plate. John said with a light laugh and smile, "Oh yes, brown and carrots. Thank you, thank you." As I took the plate from Francis, this is what I said. I took the plate from Francis, and I said, "I am honored to have you provide this food." And then Francis said, "I am honored to serve you and everyone who has come today." I said, "I wanted to give and help, and this is my humble way of doing so." And so John said, and he said, I was speechless. I was speechless when I said this. He said, "I gave him a wave and smile and proceeded to a table in the small market. Carolyn was already seated, then made her way to the line to receive her food. So that is my brief new encounter, which I had was truly unexpected, but I was not surprised of his sincere generosity of his time. And then I have some other questions I asked John Kennedy Jr. Said, "What was he wearing?" And then John said, "At first I thought he wore the familiar regalia or attire, but no skull cap. He was wearing what I believe was a chef's uniform and apron, all in white." And I said, "Thanks." And John says, "No, thank you."
Well, that is so heartwarming
Yeah,
because it confirms the continuity of life, and it goes on in a pretty much identical manner. And it's heartwarming when you think of, John F. Kennedy Jr. being such a great soul and taken out of this world so early and so young and tragically in that wreck, that it's comforting to think of him ordering brown rice and some
yeah,
for Carolyn too. It's just
yeah,
so human, and it makes me feel warm all the time when I read the e-zine. Now, you can also sign up for some sample e-zines, the Stars Still Shine e-zine, and you can see all the volumes of work that Bob Murray has done, and James, with illustrating and also creating these interviews on the other side with various people. I remember he interviewed Mark Twain virtually almost every time, and he's quite a literary giant. And then he interviewed the 911s that crossed over that day, and that was very touching. So please do tune in to James's website. It's phenomenal and truly great. And we still work together, exchanging messages from Diana and John, who I primarily work with, and also Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, primary guides, but Archangel Michael, some are political, but today is not very political, but it is, you know, I'm going to share a few words from Diana from one day and the next, and reveal what she is guiding me to another book with her and guiding me to a major publisher. So I was in touch with a major publisher the last few weeks, and they were very interested, but I wasn't ready to go forth with the message just yet because I'm not sure. I don't have a third book with Diana, but I have more. I probably have thousands of messages with Diana and John, which could become the third book, but I have to put that off until it's finished before I approach someone. So this is a little bit of advice, but Diana is saying here, I thank you personally, James, for being a constant friend to Marcia throughout these years, and for Marcia to present my work in the most dignified and supportive manner possible. And also to thank you, Marcia, to bring forth my rose energy of healing, all of you on this call today. So just tune in to the Diana Healing Rose Energy. And just says, she just know that I am ever a Queen of Hearts if you will allow me the honor of being in your heart at this time. And so we ask for prayers for peace for the Ukraine and Russia. I have said before, I do see Vladimir Putin passing into spirit, and that could be a joyous thing. It is very unfortunate that he murdered all of his opposition ahead of the time of the new elections, which will be held sometime in 2026. And I send out all my love and appreciation to both my wonderful sons, Prince William and Prince Harry. And we ask that you pray for King Charles and his health, for it is worsening. He is so right to have addressed the Canadian Parliament and I confirm that I was with him in spirit when he did. I am magically with world leaders in spirit, influencing their thoughts and for the betterment of mankind. I have influenced many presidents in the United States that I could possibly, with Marcia's wonderful message and her efforts to reach out to them through her books. I thank you for hearing me and ask that you pray for continued and lasting peace for Israel and the creation of the state of Palestine, for this is indeed the solution to continued terrorist action over there. And this is not a cry for the terrorist at all. This is a cry from the people themselves for self-governance and moderate self-governance. We feel that this is a real and true condition that must be met, possibly through the PLO, in order to give credence to the Palestinians who long for self-governance and have been suppressed and attacked for so long. It is not a partisan or political agenda that I speak of, nor it is in any way anti-Jewish. I speak of a lasting peace. As well, we see that Ukraine will succeed in time in quashing Russia, and she will become more aggressive. So before she has a chance to, we would caution that now is the time to cut off Russia with sanctions and forge a new peace process if someone in the Trump administration can have the wisdom to do so, possibly the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. I ask all listeners to continually pray for peace for the world at this time as a crossroads, and we know it can end up into a World War III if we aren't careful. So I spread my love and peace and the healing rose into your hearts at this time. I am Diana, Queen of Hearts, always at your service. So connect to the rose energy and to the healing Reiki energy at this time. And we will do further work personally with Reiki and prayer requests, and also with any healing for those that are listening remotely on the YouTube. John Lennon spoke with me privately, and he had advice about books and agents and all that. And John says here, well, love, I've always said you're both great talents, and I do work through James, just as I work through you. And it was a wonderful project. When James has more time, we'd like to see him creating more of the music of the half beats. But we've expanded our repertoire, so to speak, and we play with David Bowie and other stars at the club on occasion. We aren't doing as much recording music specifically, but we are using and recycling a lot of our old Beatle tunes from Earthplane when we play for the children who really love to dance and sing to the old Beatles tunes. That's really cute. They've got a lot of wisdom, those old songs. So we play to the Beatles tunes on your recording of YouTube and play some of James's new material. So he's asking that I incorporate this into my YouTube recording when I have my designer do that. So we're up in the upstairs studio right now working on a new piece with George. George sends on his love and says that both of you, Marcia and James, should continue working together and getting the inspiration and finding out how to get to the top of the publishing. And eventually it will come back to you both as a blessing and divine timing. And we love you all, John says. I send my love to my fans, especially to Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, and all of them being big-time people that we knew very well back then. I know we are all disappearing lot. We're all a disappearing lot, he's saying, meaning we all have to disappear. But we tell you this, we don't really ever die. And there is an afterlife that is fantastic, but it's not quite like being in flesh. We have a lot of fun on this side, but it's not quite the same as being in the physical. You don't know how lucky you are, love, to be in physical. So just remember and be thankful for everything that you have. Also, we believe in music for peace, and we are political, but we're going to refrain from all politics today and just ask all to put out peace for the world, whether through your music, your message. Your messages are great. Keep up the good work, James and Marcia. All my love into my fans. And remember peace, remember love. This is the crazy one, John Lennon. So that's what I share for today.
Oh,
And
thank you.
incorporate some of the other messages. Diana had another, well, okay, there's a little bit more to Diana's message, but I think I'm going to leave it at that, and we'll open to, thank you, Esther. We're going to close out the recording, but stay with me, and we'll have a private Reiki share, prayer request, and any readings that come through from any of the other masters for any of us on the call. So thank you very much for joining me. Again, my name is Marcia McMahon. I'm at the channel Marcia McMahon. If you would please subscribe to get future messages from the Ascended Masters and the angels, and join us again soon. You can certainly join the Circle of the Rose Divine Feminine Messages on Facebook. It's a private group. And thank you for listening, and I'm going to close out for now.